good afternoon from Nikki and from me from Castle Goring. Well, those of you who noticed that I had a little bit of cold were right, but I'm on the mend, thank God. So I will therefore plunge right in because we have an awful lot to discuss today. Harriet Lal says, oh boy, everything you've warned us about Megalodon is now coming to pass, and you are fully vindicated, Lady C. Thank you very much for the sentiments. Other people said similar things, and I appreciate the fact that you have noticed. Good. Lily Miller says, the most disgusting part of the Jason Knauf court appeal is that Jason Knauf had to remind Meghan to inquire about her own father's health in her letter. She was too meticulous with details, but left out any concern about her father's health and had to be reminded to do so. What do you make of that? Well, if the diagnosis of sociopathy is correct, and there are certainly indications that it is not far off the mark, she wouldn't care. She wouldn't care. She would need to be reminded, unless, of course, it was in her interest to put on the mask of care. And then, of course, she would do it very well. Meghan is an actress in more ways than one. That much is apparent. Her version of a reality does not accord with everybody else's. Her truth is not the truth. Why would you be surprised that somebody who doesn't have a heart is heartless? And why would you be surprised that somebody who is heartless doesn't have a heart? Some people don't. And that's why they're able to discard others, gobble them up and spit them out. Maureen Ingleston says, dear Lady C, at least if nothing else, she is an education of what the dangers of narcissism truly are. This is what makes constructive one of the purposes that we are about. Meghan is an absolute tableau vivant and a living embodiment of what somebody who has personality disorders are really all about, and how they inform us without even realizing it, that they are what we know them to be, but not what they would like us to believe that they are. This is one of the things that doesn't make the complete car crash of what is happening totally ghoulish. It would be ghoulish if it were just entertaining. But it's not just entertaining. It is edifying as well. And I have to say, the longer this goes on, is the more sickened rather than entertained that I am. Although every now and then I manage to pull up my bootstraps, put on my courage, say, come on girl, muscle up, chin up, fight the good fight, and then I try to find humour in it. But basically, it is a study in sickness and in distastefulness. And sickness is always distasteful, even when we have to have sympathy for the fact that people are sick. Nobody wants to be sick. Sickness is not a commendable virtue. Sickness is a very sad condition of life. And whether it's a common cold, or cancer, or personality disorders, or true insanity, it's not a desirable, it is undesirable. That doesn't mean it's morally something that we should disapprove of, even though we might disapprove of the conduct. But it's not something that one should seek out and emulate. One lesson I've learned in life is that we should go for the constructive and the positive, and try wherever possible to either avoid or learn from the negative. Health is desirable. Lack of health is never desirable. That doesn't mean we condemn the fact that people are sick. We can't. Miriam Fernandez says, "It seems to me she is really unconcerned about bad media as long as she continues to be talked about daily." There is an element of truth to that. Meghan's type of person doesn't like when people criticize them. They don't take kindly to it. But it is infinitely preferable to being ignored. And given a choice between bad attention or no attention, they will always take bad attention. Also, she has the classical defense mechanism against it. She brushes it off. I'm just not going to let that bother me. That's their problem. It's not my problem. And, I believe in right, as she eviscerates people. I believe in right. I believe in compassion, as she trashes people. I believe in freedom, as she tries to muzzle people. Denialism is an absolute tool of anybody who has a personality disorder. They have to deny the undeniable, because if they admitted it, or if they were capable of admitting it, maybe they would begin to step onto the road to recovery. But people like that can't recover. They need to deny. And yes, you're absolutely right, Miriam Fernandez. I agree. Also, you see, there is another aspect to this, which I think I touched upon in my book, Meghan and Harry, the Real Story. To be as famous as she wants to be, you have to be controversial. You have to keep changing the narrative. You have to throw out a whole load of rubbish. You have to create sensation. You have to, at some level, make yourself unpopular to get the attention that you require, because it is on an unnatural degree of attention. Yes, I did definitely cover it in the book, actually, as I'm speaking, because I explain very carefully how people like the Queen or any world famous person is not in the newspapers on a daily basis, doesn't seek to be in the newspapers on a daily basis. Their actions and activities are reported upon when they are newsworthy. Otherwise, they are just not reported upon with the frenzy that the Meghans of this world require. And it has to be said, two other people spring to mind Elizabeth Taylor and Diana, Princess of Wales. They demanded constant attention, and they got it. It's an art. It's an art, but it means you have to antagonize. You have to be controversial. You have to have bad press to get to that level of celebrity. ECQ says, hopefully the court sees the glaring difference between crafting a letter carefully, quotes, in case it gets leaked, quote, unquote, and crafting a letter carefully because if it gets leaked, you want it to influence the public. Pull at the heartstrings. The author of the letter has now clearly stated two purposes for the correspondence: an anticipated public purpose in addition to its natural private purpose towards its recipient. Yes, I do hope, very sincerely, that the three appeal judges will have the nous to have noted that anybody who says that they need to be very careful what they write in a letter that they have no necessity to write, incidentally, because they think it might get leaked, is actually writing the letter in contemplation of it going public. And they are actually almost admitting that if the recipient doesn't take it public, they will find a way of doing so because it is slanted in their favour and against the recipient. Hopefully, the judges will take that on board because that is a crucial and fundamental point to the whole matter of the appeal. The purpose with which she wrote that letter. If she wrote it hoping or knowing or thinking it would or might, and she has admitted that she wrote it that it might go public, and it then goes public through her friends, I am sorry, there goes the basis for any privacy protection. Copyright, and there are two aspects to this case, is a completely different matter. The Mail on Sunday definitely breached under English law the copyright. Did Thomas Markle have a right to defend himself against his treacherous, faithless traitor of a daughter who set him up in the most disgraceful manner? And when he did not respond as she hoped he would, got friends to be her Iscariots, because that's what happened. Does he have a right to defend himself? Anyone with any sense of decency has to say yes. I know that Warby wrote his judgment in such a way that he was quite comprehensive about certain things. But the fact of the matter, his findings are wrong. There is no two ways about it. His findings are wrong where the privacy aspect is concerned. You cannot believe the word of a proven liar. She is a proven liar. She has even lied, not only in her original witness statement, but in her correction to the witness statement, claiming falsely that she didn't remember. This is a woman who remembered the contents of a letter she wrote when she was 11? Who remembers the price of salad in a bar that she actually never ever needed to go to, but has fabricated that she went to? Because she was never the poor, suffering little creature that she said she was. Poor Mexican baby has to go to Sizzler and get $4.99 salads because her father's so poor. He's only won $750,000 and he's only on $200,000 a year. Poor Mexican baby. Outrageous. The whole thing is just completely outrageous. And actually, if this part of the judgment is not overturned, and if the Mail on Sunday, it's not the Daily Mail, if the Mail on Sunday does not have a chance to deal with the fact that this letter was patently written as a setup, and even if they decide that they can't prove it was patently written, there is now sufficient proof to undermine Meghan's claim that it was written to be private. I would say the judgment will stink to high heaven. That's my take on it. And I would be extremely disappointed in the Court of Appeal if they do not allow it. Maybe 2-1 will allow it. Maybe all three won't allow it. Because there are all sorts of agendas in the Court of Appeal, with one judge wanting to create new law in one way, another judge wanting to reverse law, another judge wanting to uphold precedents, etc. So it's not really a straightforward thing. That's why you have 3 judges as opposed to 1. But let us see what happens. I don't have any great deal of hope one way or the other. Well, let me put it this way. I have no expectation, but I have a reservation of hope. Let's put it that way. Janice says, Dear Lady C, since Jason Knauf now works for the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge, do you believe that Meghan is convinced that Harry is behind this? I know that narcissists need to have an enemy in their crosshairs all the time. I would love to know your opinion on this matter. Well, it is as obvious as the nose on your face or mine, my dear Janice, that patently Prince William has allowed Jason Knauf the liberty of adhering to his conscience and of doing the honourable and decent and right thing, which in this instance is to expose the hypocrisy and the mendacity and the treachery and the falsity of his rancid sister-in-law. Make no mistake about it, Meghan is rancid. You don't do what she's doing to your father, even if he wasn't a good and loving father, and he was, unless you are a debased piece of scum, which in my opinion would be actually a flattering way of describing that bit of vermin that calls itself Meghan the Duchess of Sussex. Meghan the Duchess of Sussex. Elsa Muchler says, Dear Lady C, thanks for sharing your knowledge and opinions. I have some questions. Jason Knauf still works for the royal family, and I guess he must have signed an NDA. Does the fact that he has given information and documents in the court case mean that the Queen or someone else in the royal family has given Mr. Knauf consent to disclose information? Is this a way for the family to fight back against Harry and Meghan? Do you think they will let more information be disclosed? The result of the investigations regarding the bullying allegations, for example. Kind regards from Sweden. Well, insofar as I'm aware, they don't really sign non-disclosure agreements. They sign the Official Secrets Act, which forbids them from imparting any information without the consent of their present or former employer, depending on whether they're still working with the royal family or not. They are sewn up tighter than the purse of a miser where information is concerned, unless, of course, they are allowed to do the right and honourable and decent thing when there is a controversy such as is taking place now, where Meghan has sued a newspaper and lied and entrapped her father and entrapped the newspaper. She has perjured herself. She has unfairly trashed her father. She has sought massive damages from the newspaper. Clearly, of course, it's all going to go to charity. Everything goes to charity. Write a check to Archewell for me. Now, let's see. My expenses are, what? 93%. Yes, they are. 93%. I mean, read the accounts. Read the accounts. I tell you. Talk about dealing with a hustler of the highest order and of the debased form of somebody like that. The royal family are doing what is correct. They are not standing by silently and allowing a newspaper to be trashed and an innocent man's reputation to be destroyed because of the mercenary and disgusting attributes of his hustler daughter. Let's see what happens with the bullying allegations, because that's an ongoing inquiry. Let's see. Let's see. Meghan thought she was so clever that, nobody's protecting me, the wrong family, nobody protects me, while they were busy protecting her left, right and centre. Well, when you have a fox in the chicken pen, it behooves you to be aware of the fact that you better do something before the fox gobbles up all the chickens. And you're one of them. Susan Drury says, Dear Lady C, please comment on the recent Thomas Markle interview and why you think he indicated that he cannot comment too much on certain subjects. Meghan has been given enough roof to bungee jump off Mount Everest and be catapulted into the stratosphere. It seems that her lies are beginning to catch up with her. What she has put that poor man through is beyond cruelty. Yes, it is beyond cruelty. I think it's evil. I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. I think it is evil. I know what she has accused her father of. I think her conduct is beyond reprehensible. I don't think somebody like that should be allowed to breathe anything but noxious gases until they clear her lungs of the filth that she is. I think she is a total disgrace to humanity. And I think the fact that she is a member of the royal family is very regrettable, but in some ways it's very instructive, because this gives the royal family a chance to educate the public, as to how correctly and decently to deal with troublesome, and quite frankly insane members of the family who are destructive to the nth degree, and whose respect for fact and the truth and decency is akin to Hitler's respect for the chief rabbi of Jerusalem. It also gives us an opportunity to see, hopefully, and to learn, hopefully, how best to deal with such a destructive entity in our and in its presence. Their big mistake was allowing the marriage in the first place, but nobody could have imagined what was going to happen. Nobody. They always knew she was a hustler. They always knew that she was tougher than old boots. They always knew that she was always about herself. And you know, they knew it from the word go. I mean, they could see her coming. They could smell her coming the way you can smell a garbage truck a mile off. Not all of them. Evidently, the Prince of Wales, although he saw that she was tough, liked her because in the early days she was clever. She enhanced his relationship with Harry, and she set out to charm him and the Queen, and to an extent she succeeded. She didn't pull the wool over Prince Philip's eyes. She didn't pull the wool over Princess Anne's eyes. She didn't pull the wool over Camilla's eyes. She didn't pull the wool over Catherine and William's eyes. On the contrary. Well, let us now see what I really think about the Thomas Markle interview. Well, I saw it. I feel so sorry for that man. My heart goes out to him. I know people who know him really well. And he is a good and kind and decent and kind and loving and generous man. I don't think he can come to terms with the enormity of the monster he has spawned. I get it. My grandmother could never come to terms with the enormity of the monster that she gave birth to in my mother. When my grandmother was dying of pancreatic cancer, she hung on. It was a miracle as far as the doctors were concerned. She should have died just to wait for Mummy to come from Jamaica to Grand Cayman, because Mummy, she knew, was going to come to see her before she died. Mummy's response: didn't shed a tear, was only concerned with how much money she'd been left and what she was going to do with this piece of land, what she was going to do with that piece of land. Oh, that 40-acre lot, well, that's really going to be worth something because they want a road to go through it, which indeed they did. Brutal, mercenary, ruthless and heartless. My grandmother could never accept the fact that she had given birth to a monster. And I don't think, of what I see and hear about Thomas Markle, that he will ever come to terms fully with it either. The only reason why I have been able to come to terms with the monster my mother was because I had a lot of therapy and I married an equal monster, maybe even a bigger monster. So I, to survive, had to develop the tools of recognition. Otherwise, I'd have papered over it as well, I'm pretty sure. So I get that Thomas Markle is befuddled and perplexed. And even after I knew what my mother was, I would still get befuddled, because the games that these people come up with, it's really difficult, if you're sane and sensible and not like them, to not get sucked in at times. But he admits she is a liar. He admitted it in the interview. He also confirmed yet again what her sister has said, that she tried to ruin his relationship with her sister and brother by preventing him from speaking to them. Now, I know, because of the way my mother functioned, and it's common sense once you know what you're dealing with this sort of person, that they choose situations where they know you're going to have to say no, to manipulate and maneuver you from A to C. Meghan knew that her father would never choose her and abandon her brother and sister. That tells me that she never had any intention of having him at that wedding. It's not only the lack of a suit, it's the fact that she was forcing him, if as a condition of taking part in the wedding, she was forcing him to give up permanently his other two children. She knew he wouldn't. That's manipulation, calculation, vicious, vindictive, and I will use the word again, evil. He also confirmed that she had a far closer and better relationship with her siblings than she admitted ever. And also that she just plain plumb lied about how the relationship with Samantha got derailed. He also confirmed that she was perjuring herself, as indeed was amid scabies. Now I wonder, are amid scabies and Meghan Markle going to be just allowed to lie to the court and have no consequences whatsoever? He's supposed to be a reputable journalist. Is he going to remain the correspondent for, I think it's Harper's Bazaar? Is Harper's Bazaar going to say, oh well, he's lied, but it's okay. He can lie if he claims to be a multiracial or biracial person. Of course, if he's uniracial, which he is, maybe then he should be dismissed. Is that going to be their excuse? Or is it going to be, well, he's defending a woke creature and therefore they're both allowed to lie? What's the basis going to be for allowing him to keep his job? Because he's proven himself to be unreliable and untruthful and untrustworthy. He lied to the court, he lied to us, and this Thomas Markle touched upon. He also made the point about her political interventions, that they are inappropriate, And he's absolutely right. And he made another point. Well, since they've got this great charity going, why don't they give some of the money away to the people who need it? Because really, it's obvious that the charity is a wheeze where everything goes into their pockets except that which has to go elsewhere. Expenses and administration. God, I tell you. He thought she should be doing something else aside from talking to politicians. He made it absolutely clear that Meghan is lying about her childhood poverty. And then the subject came up about, Harry's warning to, I can't remember his name, I think it's something like James Dorsey or James Dorset, the Twitter man. Harry, now remember, Harry and Meghan don't follow the media. They're never on anything. They have no social media profile. But Harry was able, despite never following any of it, to suss out that on the 5th of January there was going to be an attempted coup. And Harry proudly informs everybody a few days ago, because let's remember, Harry and Meghan need to be at the forefront of the news at all times, and not with one story, 2 or 3 on the boil at all times. So while Meghan is flouncing and flaunting her frowsy self, he's also flaunting and his frowsy self with that, and with his dead eyes and his dead delivery about how this man, he warned him that there was going to be a coup. There was going to be a coup. And then he says that the man stopped taking his calls. I should think he stopped taking his calls. I mean, what sort of a crackpot does Harry think the man is? Was he looking in the mirror when he was speaking to the man? Does he think that the man is an idiot the way he is? I mean, honestly. And also, it begs the question, if Harry knew there was going to be a coup on the 5th of January, but no one else did, that begins to support Trump's contention that the whole of the episode was orchestrated by the left to entrap his supporters. Do you see where sometimes when you're too clever by half, you become stupid by whole? There is Harry saying, yeah, I know all about the coup. I mean, Harry's riding to the rescue. Meghan's riding to the rescue in another way. And Harry's riding to the rescue as well. They're going to preserve American democracy by shutting down the media, shutting down freedom of speech. Remember, freedom of speech is bonkers. Let's remember that. Freedom to congregate, bonkers. All of that is bonkers. Bonkers, bonkers, bonkers. Well, of course, Thomas Markle quite rightly dismissed the whole thing as the nonsense that it really is. He was also asked about Harry's comments about Megxit being misogynistic, and he dismissed it completely. I mean, Harry really, there's no doubt in my mind that both Harry and Meghan are paranoid. I mean, you can have a personality disorder and still be paranoid. You can be both somebody with a personality disorder and psychotic at the same time. And there are people who think they are both. And I have to tell you, their hypotheses suggest that they are both of them. I mean, this nonsense makes it being misogynistic, that it's, which 70% of my wife's trolling is down to 30 or 50 or what websites, most of whom I have no doubt are employed by Sunshine Sachs, I've got to tell you, because they are great creators of their victimhood. And I don't think that people would be wasting their time to be bothered about trolling them. They are the great experts on who's trolling them, which suggests to me that in fact the trolls emanate rather too close to home for comfort. But anyway, he's in full victim mode about makes it being misogynistic. How is it misogynistic? There was Brexit, now there's Mexit. You couldn't have said it was horrid. I mean, the guy's a total idiot, you know. It's just a clever way of saying that they got out. Misogynistic. I mean, you talk about tossing. I mean, just tossing. Just toss. A tosser of the highest order. Tossing. Word salad everywhere. I mean, spare me, you know. They, disgusting. Anyway, Cecile White says, question, do you think the reason she lied about her father molesting her and setting him up was because she didn't want him at the wedding, because she was embarrassed by him, or that if he met the royal family, he would tell them how she really is? I think that's an excellent question. Her father does not seem to understand that in parallel with her, what the Jamaicans would call crowd move, of trying to work around him so that she would be able to say to him, well, you can't come to the wedding because you're not giving up your son and daughter for me. That she was also dripping poison in Harry's ear. They're off what I was told by an emissary of theirs when I was writing my book. The only logical conclusion I could come to was that Meghan made accusations against her father to Harry. Either that, or the person who told me, and there was absolutely no reason to do it, was lying out of their back teeth. But I don't think that is possible. So the other alternative is the one, regrettably, that I have to go with. She didn't want him at the wedding. It's quite obvious she didn't want him at the wedding. Had she wanted him at the wedding, she would have had him there before. I think it was a close-run thing because she was so busy manoeuvring and manipulating, and sleights of hand are usually done at the 99th hour, that she was going to... What assisted her, of course, was issuing that coup, so that by forcing her father into making such a terrible choice, and at the time of him being so stressed, and the royal family, remember, were offering her help with her father, and she systematically refused it. Why? Her mother got help. Why the father? Because the mother has the talent of the well-practiced, who have been exposed to all sorts of situations and know how to keep their trap shut, while the father, being a kind-hearted and successful but garrulous individual, although private, would have spilt the beans on her quicker than you could say boo. Because remember, Meghan has proudly got up and lied and said that her father did not put her through school, that she put herself through school. She's said it. What other lies has she told that we don't yet know about? Well, I know a few that you might not know about. But there is no doubt in my mind that she, and I said it in my book, that she did not dare have her garrulous father present, and that if he had to be present, he was going to be as quickly in and quickly out as possible, so that he would be distracted and nobody would really get a chance to engage with him. I'm sorry, if you are not eloping, you take your fiancé to see your father, especially if he's a prince and can afford the trip. How come they're on private jets all the time now? But he couldn't go before? Not even on a commercial airline? Not even steerage class, much less business or first? I mean, give me a break, you know. Do they think they're dealing with fools? Obviously. She didn't want her father, and she created the situation. She orchestrated the whole thing very carefully so that her father would either not come, or if she couldn't pull the dirty well enough, which she managed to do, she drove him into having a heart attack. That's an accomplishment. But if she couldn't pull that little dirty trick off, and she had no means of knowing that she could, it was going to be a close run thing. So he'd have come, and he'd have had to stay a few days, and he'd have been frog marched all about the place, and nobody would have got to know him because he was gonna spill the beans. Meghan, her conduct suggests, is a ruthless, calculating, bunny boiling operator who knew exactly what she was doing, and that every word that her friend Nikki Priddy said about her being strategic, calculating, cold, is absolutely true. Carol Donaldson says, "Daddy, that was the Judas Kiss, right there." Yes, it was, wasn't it? To those of you who don't know, Carol Donaldson is referring to Meghan proudly suggesting to Jason Knauf that he use Daddy because it's going to pull at people's heartstrings if it gets out. Well, let's hope the judges aren't dumb enough to think that she meant if, that she really meant when, because that's obvious what she meant. She meant when. And she made sure that the when happened, because when her father remained silent, she made sure that her friends didn't. 5 friends to People magazine. 5 friends to People magazine. And she had nothing to do with it. Mickey, catch that pig. Another pig is flying. Yet another member of the Meghan Markle airline, which serves nothing but kosher and halal food. God, talk about it. Unbelievable. Baby Veritas says, "Windbag, perfect. You are amazing and also well spoken. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all the latest. My pleasure. You are spot on with everything you spoke about. Gratified that you've noticed. I run through my mind the most disgusting evil creatures, and that's what I think of her. I wouldn't discourage you from coming to the conclusion. She's earned it. She should get her just desserts. If all this had come out in the beginning, the case may have gone against her. Yes, it might well have gone against her. It is pretty sad that she wants to end her relationship with her father. She wants to destroy him and make money at the same time. Why is she so afraid of her father? She's not afraid of her father, darling. There's no way she's afraid of her father. She knows her father is a pussycat. And she knows that her father is desperate to re-establish contact with his flower, his treasured baby, who he's loved all her life and who he still loves. She knows her father's never going to be able to accomplish the volte-face that she has accomplished, which is going from being sweet and loving and hand out to daddy to slap him once, slap him twice, slap him again and get rid of them. She's not afraid of her father. She's afraid of what her father could have done had he been allowed access to Harry. Because Harry is in love with a woman that never existed, but is now a creation of Meghan. Well, the energy it must take. But then I suppose if you have no identity and no personality and no heart, it's just another mask. So I suppose it's really quite easy if you lack integrity to just slap them on one after the other. Mask, mask, mask. Oh, this will work well. That will work well. Oh, yes. And that smug grin. Honestly. Marian Dixon says, here we go, 'cause Daddy knows where all the bodies are buried. Yes, Daddy does. Daddy also knows she was never a victim, but she earned Harry's respect by pretending to be a victim. Harry was conditioned by a woman who played the victim card. Meghan has simply torn out all the leaves out of the Diana book, faithfully followed the footprints, and Harry, oh, Meg, as they used to say at the palace, Meg, please, 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 it's been 10 minutes, give me another, and I'm not going to say the word. It's 2 words. Oh, Mickey, do you want to get a job? Mickey, go on, catch that leaf, it's blowing. Donna Sveinsvold says, this woman makes Goneril and Regan look like the Blessed Virgin. She certainly does. That's why in previous videos I have called her Goneregan. To those of you who don't know, Goneril and Regan are 2 faithless, treacherous daughters in King Lear. And I have said all along that Meghan is the absolute combination of the 2 of them, but worse. How this woman can ever hope to restore her reputation is quite beyond me. And I said it all along, and I'm going to crow now because I said it in my book. Meghan's big mistake was what she did to her father. Most people have respect for their parents. All of us, to varying degrees, with very few exceptions, I would imagine, have mixed feelings about our parents. We may love our parents, even when they're good parents. They're not perfect. We have our issues with them. it doesn't alter the fact that the natural thing for a child to do is love its parent. I loved my parents, even after I couldn't stand them. It's true. And I ended up loving my father, even though I couldn't stand him when I was young. And I still love my mother, even though I couldn't stand her. It's natural to love your parents. It is unnatural to do what Meghan has done. It is the mark of a psychopath. It is the mark of a heartless individual. Yes, I agree. Goneril and Regan have nothing on Meghan. However, this is what makes it so interesting. As I have said time and again, we are looking at a living, breathing tableau vivant, the Truman version, the royal version of the Truman Show, with Greek tragedy, Shakespearean drama, and Fado farce, all thrown in for good measure. It is fantastic theatre. And what makes it even more interesting than other theatre is it's not at one remove. It's not fiction. It's not about fact that took place. It's not about every man's stories that have happened or would have happened or could have happened and are representative of the human condition. This is the real McCoy. It's happening before our eyes. That's why it's so interesting. She is the embodiment of all of the dreadful creatures that drama and the theatre have to offer. Eve Harrington, Goneril, Regan, Iago, all rolled up into one package. And over made up and overdressed, unless she's then underdressed or then ill-dressed, always flaunting her frowsy self. As you can see, I have lost all tolerance with the woman. I.M. says, Dear Lady C, the only explanation I can see as to why Meg has changed her stance about Thomas, her father, is that somehow through therapy or on her own, Meg remembered that her father interfered with her. You know what I mean. And then she did whatever she could to cut him out of her life and wedding. What do you think? Well, my dear, you're asking a question that I have answered in my book. Meghan can't have remembered something that never took place. You do not at the age of 36, when you're about to marry a prince, and it is inconvenient for your father to appear on the scene and speak the truth about the fact that you were an overprivileged spoiled rat and not deprived victim of colour prejudice and poverty. Mickey, come and help Marty here. Marty's grieving for Meghan and all that poverty that she suffered through. Lack of support, no support. She didn't remember a thing. She cooked it up. Anything else is not believable and cannot make sense. She cooked it up, just as she has cooked up a whole load of other lies, such as the fact that the British people were racist and didn't welcome her, the fact that the royal family didn't welcome her and that they hung her out to dry and that they didn't support her. It's one lie after the other. She is a professional victim. And when you are a professional victim from the vantage point of privilege, and she's always been privileged, even though she was not from a grand background, her father certainly gave her a privileged existence. And she's claiming the opposite. The woman is a total disgrace to humanity. And I base everything I say on her conduct. And if she wishes to sue me, please feel free. Issue the proceedings and they will be defended. I'm afraid, dear girl, you're going to find that Lady Colin Campbell isn't Mr. Justice Warby. Some of us can see you for what you are and back it up with all the evidence of what your actions and conduct have been. Yes, no, maybe so, says. I don't understand her friends. If they didn't know, then the context of what they were involved in, they must know now. Are they as bad as she is? Yes, they are. They certainly now know that they have been used, abused, and misused. And if they don't ride to the rescue of Thomas Markle and reveal the con that she perpetrated not only upon People magazine and the public, then the British courts and the Mail on Sunday and her father, they are complicit. Sins of commission, not sins of omission. They know that they threw an innocent man to the wolves. If they wish to lie to themselves and say, yeah, but we believe her, grow up, you creeps. Grow up. Woman up. Get a backbone. Stop being a social climber. You will actually find that your trajectory might actually be rather more rapidly upwards if you disassociate yourself from that flotsam and jetsam. You might find that people in rather more elevated circles than the muck that you have been mixing with will welcome you with open arms. And if you don't want to take the chance, you are disgusting, reprehensible, and equally pathetic as she is. You have allowed yourself to be used to abuse a decent, innocent man. If you have a conscience, it will bother you. If it doesn't bother you, you won't have a conscience. But then again, insofar as I'm aware, half the people that Meghan and Harry mix with have neither scruples nor conscience. They're all about making it, and it's all about show with very little go. They seem to occupy a world where honour, integrity, decency, truth, and reality are flies to be flicked off as they come up with yet another money-making deal and yet another pretentious, piffling production. Mr. DeMille. Oh, sorry, Mr. Netflix. Sorry, Spotify. Come on. I'm ready for another close-up. Come on. Marie Whitaker says, yes, but Harry is no better. Why did the lawyers' solicitors refuse to read out Harry's nasty email to Papa Markle? Why? Because they were protecting him and he doesn't deserve to be protected. That's one interpretation of it, Marie Whitaker. There are others, and I'll tell you what. the most likely one is. It's to protect Thomas Markle because of the filth that has been flung at him. It is to not humiliate Thomas Markle. It also is to not expose Harry as the vindictive and nasty piece of work that he is. But it's not only to protect Harry, it's to protect Thomas Markle. Also, I have to point out to you something that you may not be aware of. In civil litigation, especially, the plaintiff has an advantage, or the claimant has an advantage over the defendant. Meghan was the claimant. They are regarded as innocent until the other side can prove that they are not. It's a slight shift in the focus. That comes into play here as well. Sharon Richardson says, she is evil. She knows what she's doing and she doesn't care. I couldn't agree more. There's no doubt in my mind that she's fully aware of what she's doing and she doesn't care. Of course, if she truly is psychotic, she might have convinced herself that her latest lie is the truth. Like, you know, we got married 3 days before, and all that spectacle, you know, that sort of production that they, the British people, the British royal family, wanted to use me, the great me, for. And because I'm going to be the most popular person on earth, and they wanted to use me so that the hands have to be good. So everybody would know that I'm the most popular person on earth, and I'm the greatest addition to the royal family that the royal family has ever had. But H and I got married, you know, Oprah, we got married 3 days before the wedding. Yeah. Christ. Do you see we're dealing with insanity? We're dealing with actual insanity. I mean, there is no other explanation. It is insanity. That degree of stupidity isn't possible. It's insanity. Baby Ullman says, Meghan is super ambitious and she would do what it takes to get what she wants. She bagged a British prince, her ladder to reach the pinnacle of success. That is not personality disorder or mental illness. No and yes. Sorry, Baby Ullman. No and yes. Excessive ambition is generally regarded as a mental illness. Meghan displays symptoms of paranoia. The lying, the falsities, everybody's against me. Oh God, the whole world's against me. Well, not the whole world, just anybody who doesn't agree with me. The overweening self-importance, over self-importance. I'm just the greatest things that God ever put on this earth, and anybody who doesn't recognize it deserves to be shut down. Oh, and I'm sorry, you can't see me, but I should be crossing my legs and wearing 8-inch stilettos. Paranoia is a psychosis. There is little doubt in certain psychiatrists' mind that she is a sociopath, that she is also a narcissist, and that she is Machiavellian. It's called the dark triad personality. There are others who think she also manifests the characteristics of paranoia. You can both be paranoid and narcissistic or sociopathic at the same time. The two conditions are not mutually exclusive. What it simply means is that people with personality disorders have a disordered personality, but people with a psychosis have a skewed take on reality. I personally think she's insane. I feel sorry for her, but I have to tell you, I feel a hell of a lot sorrier for everybody else. I feel a hell of a lot sorrier for the royal family, for the British people, now for the American people, and everybody else who has to endure this never-ending farce. Overweening ambition is not a commendable quality. Overweening ambition is destructive. Read Macbeth. It's a form of insanity. Barbara Michelotti says, they were assisting the authors of the book in 2018. This means just a few months after the wedding. Do you think they were already planning to leave? Oh, there's no doubt in my mind that Meghan always intended a dip-in, dip-out situation and that Harry was happy to go along with it. There's no doubt in my mind that even before the wedding that they had started to cook up all of this. The conduct, and again, if you read what I said in my book, it's all there. Everything I said has been verified by their subsequent actions. She never severed relations with any of her, with the manager, the PR people, no. She kept in touch with everybody. She simply misled the royal family. She and Harry misled the royal family. The royal family thought she was in to stay, that she was going to be a team player. Can you imagine a narcissist being a team player? It's all about me, all about me, all about me. And everybody else, well, you just got to make sure that nobody sees you. It's all about me. And on that note, I think I should say, I hope you have enjoyed this. There's a lot more ground to cover, but unfortunately I've run out of time. So I'll have to shift it over to the next video. I hope you have enjoyed this. If you have, please like, share, subscribe, press the notification bell, and please keep the questions, comments, and observations coming in. This can't be done without you. God bless. Bye-bye.